Hallo everyone, guten Morgen, wie geht es Ihnen? Ich heiße Angela von Kenya. Good morning, I'm delighted to be part of this group, attending the Youth Leadership Conference. I bring my greetings from White Ribbon Alliance, Kenya, one of the 15 national alliances across the globe that is working to empower citizens and other multi-stakeholders in ensuring that women and newborns, including youth and adolescents, do not die during pregnancy and childbirth. I'm delighted because you've chosen a path that few people have decided not to choose until very late in their age. I'm happy to meet you today and to speak to you because you've decided to go against the old saying that everywhere I went when I was growing up, I was told that to read hard, whether it was in church, in school, in any social gathering, so that I can be a leader of tomorrow. But let me ask you, when is tomorrow? When does tomorrow come? For who and when? I also grew up in a society which talked about tomorrow never coming. You all know about the saying that tomorrow never comes. But I chose to go against that saying. And I've changed that saying to say tomorrow comes to the few who choose to make it happen. For the few who choose to make it come. And I'm delighted because I know you've chosen that path, and that is why you are here today. I'm happy to meet you from all corners of the world, from Germany, from Europe, from America, from Africa, from Asia, from basically every corner of the world. And I'm humbled to speak to you today. Let me give you a short story about myself. A few years ago, let me not really say there are few, it's over a decade, I was a young graduate midwife, fresh from the University of Nairobi. After my internship, I chose a career path to go and work to deliver babies and mothers. I remember joking with my classmates in the university, telling them that I was not going to work in boring hospitals, because one time I was passing through a street in Nairobi and I heard someone say, hospital ceilings are boring. And I wondered. And I remember looking up and seeing an advert that for sure hospital ceilings are boring. And I did not want to be part of the group that was working in hospitals, night shifts, day shifts, in a boring environment. I wanted adventure. I am naturally very adventurous. And I wanted to work in an NGO sector where there was adventure and work. I wanted to use my skills and knowledge to deliver babies, healthy mothers and healthy babies. So I packed my backpack, I took up my suitcase and jumped into a plane and went to the post-conflict South Sudan back in the day. Immediately after they had signed the peace agreement to end the 21 long civil war, 21 years of civil war in a country where there were women, children, young people, men and women. I remember landing at the airport. Actually, it was not an airport, it was an airstrip. And wondering, do people live in this place? What was awaiting me was even a greater shocker. I went to the compound where I was supposed to live. It looked like a picnic site. We were supposed to sleep in mud houses. But I say, after all, I chose adventure. Maybe this is how it looks like to work in the community. I remember joining in with a young Sudanese doctor who had joined me the same time, and strolling to the health facilities where we were supposed to work in. Colleagues attending this conference, we were shocked. There we were in a hospital which did not fit any description of a hospital, because I was used to delivering women in a place that was well equipped. Also, I thought there was no operating theater, there was no running water, There were no midwives, there were no doctors. There were no commodities. The hospital had no doors. And I was in the midst of that. I was supposed to deliver babies and mothers. That is what my skill, my knowledge, and my training had prepared me for. It had never prepared me to watch the horror that was just about to unfold. And we started. I remember going back to the compound and contemplating and telling my team leader, I am not sure that this is the kind of assignment that I wanted to take up. But we sat together with this young doctor. I remember her name very well. She was called Dr. Esther. And we said we wanted to do more. I remember crying for a whole month. Every day we went to save mothers. We lost so many mothers in the villages, in the homesteads, and in the hospitals. So we decided to come up with an innovative way of trying to see how to save these women and their newborns. I remember at least the first 1 week, we watched 6 mothers die in that hospital because there was nothing we could do. There were no life-saving equipment, and no one was caring about it. No one was talking about it. It was a silent catastrophe. I do not want to talk about the number of children who died in that hospital, or the rest of the patients who died because there were other patients. It was a 116-bed seater capacity hospital, accommodating over 350, with only one clinical officer, hold, with no equipment for himself. So we decided we were going to use whatever was available. We talked to our team leader and other partners working in the region, and they managed to purchase an operating theater, some lamps, some paraffin, and some basic equipment. I remember we spent the first 2-3 months working 24-hour shift, operating, assisting in cesarean sections, holding torches and hurricane lamps, suturing mothers in the dark of the night. During the day, we could spend time doing rounds, educating women, traditional birth attendants who could not read and write. We devised ways of using pictures and stones and other equipment. Appropriate technology came at hand. But what was still to await me was even much more. One day we decided to do an outreach to a deep inside community whom we had been told that they were really suffering. And I tell you, colleagues, that was a game changer. I remember on our second day, a man joined us. And he was crying, and he said that he had a message for us. Being a very tense and insecure environment, we thought maybe something bad was about to happen. So we decided to follow him, of course, together with the other security people. We walked for close to 3 miles. He kept on telling us, it's just here, it's just here. Then I remembered where I come from. The other Kenyans normally enjoy us telling us that we always talk about it's near, it's near. We walked for 3 miles. We reached a homestead that was dilapidated, and we were met with 3 fresh graves. And actually they were not 3, they were 4, and a 2-year-old baby. On reaching the compound, the man broke into tears. He told us that he had lost a wife who was pregnant with triplets. It was sad. The wife had died in the same health facility we were holding our training. The wife had died during childbirth because there was no hospital, there was no health worker, there was no ambulance. The roads were terrible and the place was insecure. He could not reach even the referral hospital that we were working in. He started questioning us, asking us, whose responsibility is it? Who is supposed to help him and his community? Who is supposed to bring back his wife to life? Because he had done what he had been told to do by the traditional birth attendants, take the wife to deliver in a health facility. But what kind of a health facility? It was totally a dysfunctional health infrastructure. That was the moment I realized I needed to do something and do it fast. I went back to the compound and talked to the team leader and said, unless we do something, unless we talk to the government people, unless we talk to the other stakeholders, we were not doing anything. And whatever we were contributing was not being felt, at least by a quarter of the people that we were supposed to be serving. Thankfully, help came, and we were able to start the first midwifery training school in South Sudan, and I was privileged to be part. It was a small effort, but it was worth the effort. The training is still going on. Back home, after 3 years of working in a country that I thought was totally different from mine, I came back. And I told myself I needed to find out whether this was happening in my country. But I knew it was not happening because Kenya has been independent for the last how many years? Over 60 years, over 50 years. So I knew systems were right. We had the most beautiful documents talking about saving mothers and newborns. So it was not going to be like South Sudan. Shock was awaiting me. I remember reading policy documents, talking about the brilliant things that the government was investing in saving mothers, talking about the beautiful projects that partners were working to save mothers. But one thing I did not come across, I never saw any media reporting about maternal health. I talked to my media friends and they told me that they never knew it was a big problem. After all, women were getting babies. And no one was talking about the ones who were just buried silently when they died in childbirth. I read a report that talked about Kenya losing 26 mothers every day and over 70 newborns in pregnancy and childbirth from preventable causes. I could not sit and watch my own countrymen die. Then I remember attending a meeting. I remember it was in Italy, in Rome specifically. It was a strategic meeting for the organization I was working for. And I met someone who asked a very pertinent question, but I think that is the answer that I'd been waiting for. They asked, how comes so many women, so many mothers and newborns are still dying in Kenya and no one is talking about them? How comes you are not unifying a voice to speak as one and challenge this carnage that is happening in Kenya? And I knew right there, I had the answer. I remember walking to that lady during break time and asking her, how then can we unify the voices? Then she told me, have you heard about the White Ribbon Alliance for Safe Motherhood? And I said, no, I had never heard about White Ribbon Alliance for Safe Motherhood. She told me, go to the internet and look up their website. I went. That night, I never slept. I saw the beautiful work that White Ribbon was doing across the globe, unifying and bringing together civil society, non-governmental organizations, private sector, government, citizens, and other stakeholders to speak up about the women, the mothers, the newborns who are dying during pregnancy and childbirth. And I knew automatically I needed to become a member. When I came back home, I brought together several people from the civil society, from the NGO sector, from the private sector, my friends, my former classmates, friends in the media. I remember we even had teachers and policemen joining White Ribbon Alliance in Kenya. I wrote to the global office and we were given an affiliation to start off, and work we started. I had one goal, to ensure that the voices of women, the voice of that man I'd met back in South Sudan who had lost the wife in pregnancy and the triplets, was heard, even to the global level. I remember telling my colleagues, it cannot be business as usual. I remember telling them that we needed to raise the profile of maternal and newborn health and the visibility of the same to the local, to the regional, national, and even the global level. Colleagues, in the conference today, I can tell you it has happened. It is happening in the 15 national alliance that White Ribbon Alliance works in, Kenya being one of them. I remember I could take papers, read papers a whole week, and I could never hear of someone talking about mothers and newborns dying. But today, go to the internet and you'll hear and look up what White Ribbon Alliance is doing. White Ribbon Alliance is a network of individuals, citizens, governments, stakeholders, CSOs, faith-based communities, anyone who is interested to see a change in maternal and newborn health, and now including adolescent health. White Ribbon Alliance believes in the power of partnerships, in the power of unifying voices, bringing dialogue between governments and citizens. White Ribbon Alliance does not believe in the apathy that I saw when I started off White Ribbon Alliance in Kenya. We believe in questioning the status quo, the power imbalances. We know our countries have committed to global documents, global policies, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Millennium Development Goals, the Abuja Declaration, the Maputo Protocol. I can name all of them. The Constitution, for example, my country boasts of one of the most progressive constitutions with the most beautiful and progressive Bill of Rights that talks about health being a human right, including reproductive health. But why are we still then losing 21 mothers and 70 newborns every day in Kenya? I can say from then to now, I have seen the power of partnerships, the power of bringing citizens to the table with their governments to discuss in a non-antagonistic way ways of changing the status quo. I have seen across all our national alliances, from India to Bangladesh to Nepal to Afghanistan to Pakistan to Sweden to Kenya to Tanzania to Southern Africa to Malawi, Zimbabwe, Nigeria and many other countries, we are seeing change. I am one person who does not believe in small change. I believe in change and real change. In the different capacities that where you are working, in your homes, in your different places, I am sure you are doing a change. And I congratulate you today because I know you are changing a lot. And through that change, the world is going to change. Let me talk about partnerships, multi-stakeholder partnerships, especially for NGOs and the civil society and other stakeholders, because stakeholders are key in advancing the health and well-being agenda. You all know very well, and you remember the story I just told you about South Sudan. You remember women were dying because they could not access the health facility. The roads were impassable. That is a stakeholder. The ministry is dealing with roads and infrastructure. Is a stakeholder in maternal health, because maternal health and health in general is not just a health agenda. It's a multi-stakeholder agenda, multi-sector agenda. Remember the insecurity I talked about. Security becomes a stakeholder and a partner in advancing maternal health. Remember I talked about adolescents and youth. White Ribbon Alliance believes in nothing for us without us, and is delighted that the current global strategy too talks about adolescents being included in the strategy. Because if we can be able to address the health of adolescents today, we can actually harvest the triple dividend in the future. We are talking about education. Remember, an empowered woman, an empowered community, an empowered girl will make the right choices in life. She will be empowered to make decisions to shape her health. She will deliver in a health facility and are skilled, and will question the quality of care that she's receiving. Multi-stakeholder partnerships are critical. For a long time, we live in a world, and we have lived in a world which is divided, which is working in silos. But in White Ribbon Alliance, where we are working, amplifying the voice of those suffering, challenging the power dynamics, educating citizens on their rights, we are using partnerships. Partnerships as key in advancing the health agenda. One thing I would want to tell you today is that where you are and whatever you are working, you cannot go far if you do it alone. Join hands with many. It does not matter which sector, but at the end of the day, make sure you do not do it alone. Do it with someone. Mentor somebody. Bring somebody. Together you are going to walk far. There's one thing I remember I was told when I was still wondering where to start. I was reminded by one key member of the board of White Ribbon Alliance in Kenya that unless you bring everybody to the table, we might not make a change. I cannot underestimate the power of partnerships. The Millennium Development Goals, the post-2015 framework, and the current SDGs, and all the other policies and strategies that have been drawn at different levels all talk about the power of partnerships, the power of alliances and coalition building, ensuring that no one is left behind. No one is left behind is not just a fallacy. To me, I think if it's put in practice, realistically, it can make great impact. And I'm happy because you've chosen to be here today to make that impact. So I'm calling on all of us today to sit back and think of how powerful and critical coalitions can do in advancing the SDGs, especially SDG 3, health and well-being. I'm calling on all of us to join hands. There's a very interesting proverb that is spoken a lot in Ethiopia that talks about if spiders or spider webs unite, they can actually tie up a lion. And I know if we unite as citizens, as professionals, as private sector, as youth and adolescents, as old people, women and girls, boys, you and me, we can make a change and bring a change and come up with vibrant communities and societies that are surviving, are thriving, and are transforming the world. You and Erika there, Krause, Hoffman, Judy, Simon, Steve, Sebastian, Victoria, listening to me today, sitting here today, thinking, what can I do after here? You already are doing something. You are here because you are playing a role in changing the world, in changing the health sector. I call on you today to sign up and become members of this global movement that is unifying the voices of citizens and bringing dialogue between citizens and their governments to ensure that no women, no girls or newborns die from preventable causes in pregnancy and childbirth. Thank you, and may God bless you.